There is a quiet kind of power that most people never notice. It doesn't demand applause. It isn't loud or forceful. It is the power of presence restrained, of influence measured, of silence chosen deliberately. Those who understand it move differently through the world. They don't shout to be heard. Instead, their actions, their choices, and even their absence speak for them. Stoicism teaches that mastery over the inner life is the greatest freedom we can claim. And in that mastery lies the ability to shape not only your own path, but also how the world perceives you. The people who cultivate this kind of influence understand a simple truth: the less they react to the noise around them, the more clearly they see, and the more weight their words carry. Most people fear fading from view because they mistake being seen for being significant. There is constant pressure to post, to speak, to show yourself, as if every moment out of sight diminishes your value. Yet, influence rarely comes from constant exposure. Minds respond to scarcity, to pauses, to what is not immediately available. A voice repeated endlessly loses resonance. A figure always on display becomes part of the background.
Welcome to True Stoic Journal, the path to inner control.
Activity is not impact. Visibility is not a value. Those who master the subtle art of influence step back deliberately, not from fear, but from insight. Silence becomes a tool. It amplifies what follows. It creates a presence that commands attention without demanding it. Presence is measured not by frequency, but by the weight of each appearance. When someone is always visible, their words and actions lose impact. Observers habituate. What was once striking becomes ordinary. Stepping back requires a level of self-mastery most people never practice. Disappearing isn't just a strategy. It is a test. A test of whether you can sit with yourself without needing validation. Most are tethered to a feedback loop, constantly checking if someone responded, noticed, or approved. Choosing to step away from that loop entirely is uncomfortable. No reassurance, no immediate feedback. Just space. But that discomfort is where true power emerges. From a Stoic perspective, it is mastery over external dependence. You are no longer reacting to the world's attention. You decide when it deserves yours. Emotional control emerges naturally when you stop reacting to every stimulus and instead observe deliberately, respond thoughtfully, and engage only when necessary. Each word, each gesture, each appearance becomes meaningful because it is deliberate rather than impulsive. The greatest masters of influence are often misunderstood. Their silence is mistaken for distance. Their absence is seen as disengagement. But in truth, they are choosing moments carefully, conserving energy, focus, and attention. Predictability dulls influence. Measured unpredictability amplifies it. Those who control their presence understand that power often lies not in what is shown, but in what is withheld. Ego, when unrestrained, makes people reactive and predictable. But detachment from recognition brings freedom. Now, applying this intentionally transforms how the world responds. You speak less. You stop explaining everything. You allow space between actions. At first, it feels strange, even uncomfortable. But slowly, everything changes. People listen more closely when you do speak. They notice when you appear. Your presence sharpens, becomes defined, and carries weight. If you value clarity, insight, and living with intention, consider taking the next step by subscribing. Subscribing here is more than a click. It is a commitment to explore Stoic principles, to reflect on your own actions, and to engage with ideas that guide thoughtful, deliberate living. Over time, calibrated absence generates a subtle psychological advantage. Observers begin to value moments of presence, noticing every contribution, listening closely, and attaching significance to every action. The paradox is clear: stepping back does not diminish influence, it enhances it. The fear of disappearing is a misunderstanding of significance. Presence alone rarely produces impact. It is the interplay of presence and absence, attention and restraint, that shapes authority. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Stepping back intentionally cultivates clarity, authority, and influence. Consider how often we shape our behavior for the sake of an imagined audience. Every gesture is filtered through the lens of how it will be perceived. The desire for external validation is a quiet chain. By choosing to step back, even briefly, this chain is broken. The absence becomes a conscious act of reclaiming autonomy. You begin to understand that influence is not a function of constant demonstration, but of selective presence. The Stoics teach that it is not events that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. Epictetus reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The reactions of others, the measure of likes or acknowledgments, are external and outside your true control. What can be mastered is your own response. By disengaging from the compulsion to be constantly recognized, you become the author of your own focus. In a world of ceaseless distraction, the ability to remain steady without continuous reinforcement is rare. Others are drawn to those who are not easily swayed by the constant tides of approval. The mind attuned to scarcity assigns weight to moments of deliberate engagement. By contrast, those who overextend their presence dilute their influence. Stepping back creates a quiet kind of tension that most people fail to notice. Absence is not emptiness. It is a canvas on which others paint their assumptions and interpretations. When you remove yourself, even briefly, you introduce a space that people feel compelled to fill. The uncertainty that emerges draws attention, provokes curiosity, and subtly shifts control from the observer to the one who has chosen to step away. Carl Jung observed, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams; who looks inside, awakes. The act of retreating allows for this inward gaze. It is in the quiet, unobserved moments that clarity emerges, priorities crystallize, and intentions align with values rather than reaction. Predictability creates a sense of comfort, yet it quietly erodes influence. When people can anticipate your every action, your presence becomes mundane. Your words lose weight. Safety, in this sense, is a subtle form of invisibility. The most compelling influence arises from the careful orchestration of presence and withdrawal. Restraint is elegant. The impulse to continuously explain, to justify every choice, stems from the desire for validation. Yet overexposure diminishes authority. Strategic withholding leverages the natural inclination of the human mind to value scarcity. Just as the rarest experiences are remembered most vividly, the moments you choose to reveal yourself carry greater weight. Emotional control is the hidden architecture behind influence. Most people react instinctively, speak before thinking, and reveal more than necessary, because they feel compelled to fill the silence. There is a subtle anxiety in inaction. A sense that if you are not constantly contributing, you are slipping behind. Yet the very instinct that drives immediate response is what diminishes control. True authority is cultivated not in the clamor of constant reaction, but in the measured, deliberate observation of what is occurring around you. In stepping back, you stop feeding the reactive cycles of others. Silence and absence, when embraced intentionally, become instruments of clarity. They allow the mind to detach from the immediate pull of external stimuli and observe the world without bias. When one resists the compulsion to speak first or act immediately, the space created exerts a quiet influence over others. People begin to reveal more than they intended, expose patterns, and demonstrate intentions because they are responding to a mind that does not react impulsively. This discipline of non-reaction also fosters a deeper understanding of others. Carl Jung once said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Understanding oneself through restraint provides insight into the behavior of others. The contrast between impulsivity and measured response amplifies the significance of presence. When you do not react to every stimulus, when you do not fill every silence, every engagement becomes an event in itself. Influence is no longer diffused by constant exposure. It is concentrated, deliberate, and psychologically resonant. Those who truly understand the dynamics of power are often misjudged. Silence is mistaken for indifference. But they are not passive. They are deliberate. The world equates constant presence with diligence. But continuous visibility often diminishes impact. If every word spoken is important, then each must be chosen with care. If every appearance is consequential, then each must be timed intentionally. Absence is not avoidance, it is an investment. It preserves vital energy for moments that truly matter. Others, accustomed to continuous exposure, begin to anticipate routine and lose attentiveness. But intermittent engagement creates impact. The observer is drawn in, interpreting each moment through the lens of deliberate choice rather than reactionary habit. Aristotle noted, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The habit of measured presence cultivates influence, authority, and strategic insight. Remember, true influence isn't earned by constant noise or relentless visibility. It is cultivated in the space between. In the pauses. In the moments of deliberate presence. Every choice to step back, to reflect, and to act intentionally strengthens your clarity, your focus, and your quiet authority. Let that guide you as you move through the world with purpose, grounded in discipline and insight. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal, for exploring these principles, and for committing to growth with intention. Click on one of the suggested videos on the screen to continue deepening your understanding, and let each step forward be guided by wisdom and deliberate action.